everybody, and welcome to episode 373 of the All You Can Hear podcast. My name is Wenzel, and I'll be one of your co-hosts today. And joining me is
Adopted Family Colt. Around here, we're family. You're gonna try to kill me? You're gonna try to cut my toes off? Family.
Family. You're gonna try to kill me? Well, guess what? I'm gonna crash my car. Family.
Family.
Family. I'm gonna shave my head. Family.
We only got one rule, and that rule is we have a lot of rules.
Family. We only have one rule, and that rule is family.
Sakamoto Days. Family.
Yep. Family. Yeah, so if you couldn't tell, we're going to be talking about the hit. Get it? Because the story involves Hitman. Anyway, no. We're going to be talking about the very popular, I assume popular, I say this.
Oh yeah, it's very popular.
Like, I don't know why I'm overthinking this now, because I'm thinking like, oh man, is it popular? Actually, I don't know, because why did we even make this episode if it wasn't popular? Sakamoto Days. So as usual, like we do with past manga stuffs, we read the first 3 volumes, and we're gonna talk about those volumes. We're gonna talk about a little bit about the mangaka and our thoughts. For this too, 3 volumes, that's 25 chapters. So if you don't want to buy the physical volumes, you can, if you have the app, that's where we're at. There's going to be full spoilers for these 3 volumes. We don't read anything past that, and we don't talk about anything past that 25 chapters. So don't worry. If you want to go ahead and read those and come back, you can. If not, you can listen to us talk about and decide for yourself whether you want to check this series out. But
Yeah, I didn't really have any. I read the first 10 chapters for this probably 2 years ago when I was at Christmas because I was bored and there was nothing to do. And I thought it was okay, the first 10 chapters. I thought it was fun. But for the most part, it was nothing that grabbed me and pulled me in. And I gotta say, that opinion is kind of still the same. It's not that it's bad. It is not bad. It's just, it feels very run-of-the-mill so far. I'm waiting for the actual hooks to come in, because I've seen so many people say, like, dude, this is like some of the best manga you can ever see. You can read it. I've seen some great panels. I have. But we weren't really hit with anything too crazy in these first 3 volumes.
Yeah. So to preface this, we did this episode because we found out that the anime is going to premiere on January 11th next year. At the time of this episode coming out next month. So this will be on Netflix, I believe. And so we were thinking like, okay, well, because as Colt has kind of said, and as a lot of our other hosts, Pat and Tanner, have also said, is that we've heard a lot of things about Sakamoto Days. I've seen several panels that look pretty crazy. I've heard a lot of things about how this is like Colt said, like one of the craziest manga series to be out on Shonen right now. And I was like, okay, like I constantly hear that. So I'm like, okay, so I gotta check it out. And I thought, well, right now is the perfect time with the anime coming out. So currently right now it's at 191 chapters. In terms of physical volumes here in English, it's at 14. Currently in Japanese, it's 19.
Yuppies.
So to kind of give some background, this is written and illustrated by Yuto Suzuki. It was first serialized in November 2020, so it's fairly new. I mean, for the past 4 years, it's been releasing, and currently, as of August 2024, the manga has over 5.5 million copies in circulation.
I was gonna say 191 chapters since 2020. That's a lot. Thinking about it, really? Not really. 2020 was almost 5 years ago. So that is about that number makes sense now that I think about it fully.
Yeah, and then also too, the manga has been nominated for several awards. Yeah, so it's been nominated for several awards, and there's been some praise here and there. I say this too because I didn't want to go directly into what I think of it, but I kind of am mirroring. I'm gonna mirror kind of what Colt says. But before I get into that, to kind of give you some background on the manga themselves, don't know too much about them. They went to the Tokyo University of Arts, and that's one of the most prestigious art schools in Japan. In 2019, they drew their first one shot called Garaku, and it became one of the most read comics in Jump Plus. 4 months after Garaku, Suzuki created a one shot called Locker Room. It got pretty high reception, and then it got even a TV drama adaptation. And then after that, that's when they serialized Sakamoto Days, and that's kind of what they've been working on since.
I do like that their artist picture is a giraffe.
A giraffe. I do enjoy that. I was like, okay, that's pretty good. To go, so to get right into it, to go briefly into the first volume, the first chapter is like 60 pages, and it's just an introduction to Sakamoto, to his family, and to Shin. But I guess I should also give you the plot as well. So the story revolves around Taro Sakamoto, a retired legendary hitman who has settled into a quiet and mundane life as a family man. However, his peaceful life is disrupted when former enemies and colleagues from his hitman days come seeking revenge. To protect his family and loved ones, Sakamoto must use his exceptional combat skills to face off against a variety of adversaries while trying to maintain his ordinary facade. And so, yeah, and then we get, and then this is just basically the first chapter. We get introduced to Shin, who is an old colleague of his, and what makes him special is that he is a clairvoyant, so he can read people's minds, and and in this first chapter, he's come to kill Sakamoto, but then Sakamoto is able to turn him around, and he basically becomes part of Sakamoto's family, and also works at the store that he has, the convenience store.
And it's funny because he doesn't really give people, it's going to be a pattern for the series. It's adoptive family. He doesn't really give them a choice. It's like, you work for me at my job now. I'm not going to treat you bad, but you work for me now. You're my family.
Yeah. And for the most part, for this first volume, it's just kind of them trying to keep their identities hidden while just stuff happens. Like there's a bus jacking, and they save the people on the bus because also Sakamoto's wife's on the bus, so they have to keep their identities. But then it breaks out on the news, and then a cop is after them because she wants to kind of talk to them, but then that cop gets kidnapped, and so they have to save them. And Sakamoto, it's kind of a gag where he's really fat, but then it's revealed that he can go back to his slim muscular form, and I feel like there's something up with that. In this first 3 volumes, we don't know why that is. It just, people think that he's burning a lot of calories because the next day he gains it all back. I feel like it might be a power of some sorts that he can just kind of turn it on and off. I like I said, I don't know, but I assume we're gonna find something out. Then we get introduced to another employee, or somebody who joined. She's a Chinese immigrant. Her name is Lu, and they help her with what's happening with her. She joins the store. She makes pork buns, and then we get introduced to another character who we've only seen him really 3 times now, but I think it was a fairly interesting thing because it kind of shakes up the story a little bit. His name is Nagumo, and he's kind of a goof who loves to lie, but is also extremely skilled, who also knows Sakamoto.
But he's not like aggressive towards Sakamoto. He seems like a friend of him because he's just doing shits and giggles.
Yeah, he's just doing shit and giggles because there's this really weird chapter where where the Lu and Shin are kind of arguing with each other, and Sakamoto's talking a lot. Sakamoto, for most of the manga, does not talk. Most of the time, he just thinks, and then Shin is able to read his thoughts, which I will say that's pretty cool, is that whenever we get backstories or shit's happening, Shin comments on it because he can literally see it in people's minds. He's just like, what the fuck was that? Or why are you saying this? Or why are you talking about this? It's just like, it's just so funny. I do enjoy that. And there's also this reoccurring gag where Sakamoto, to kind of like, he does it on purpose to Shin, where sometimes when when Shin kind of annoys him, he imagines himself killing Shin, and Shin's like, what the fuck?
It reminds me of me and Wenzel.
It does.
And Wenzel Sakamoto. I'm like, what the fuck, man?
or yeah, it's just really funny. I was like, it's a good gag. I mean, this is yeah, just them kind of getting caught up into antics.
Also, the fact that Sakamoto is a wife guy, I'm a big fan of that. I do enjoy a fictional wife guy. Real life wife guys can never be trusted. I will say that. But fictional ones, trust away. I really enjoy that. This is my headcanon, that his wife is Kobeni after the end of Chainsaw Man Part 1 ended. She moved away and she got married. And that's why she's kind of not super turned off by the killing. She doesn't like the killing. She hates that he was a hitman. She doesn't want him to be one anymore, but a normal person would just be like, get the fuck away from me. But since she's been around so much death and Chainsaw Man, she's like, fuck, I can change him.
And she did. Yeah, no. That's so funny because she does look a lot like Kobeni, just a lot more cheerful and less anxious.
Getting married changes you.
I also love a good wife guy. That's also why I love Hell's Paradise. Yeah, so oh gosh. But anyway, like I was saying, with the introduction of Nagumo, Sakamoto's talking a lot, which is really weird. And then the real Sakamoto walks into the shop, and it's just a really funny kind of encounter because it reveals that Nagumo has this power where, or something, I don't know. He turns into he can turn into people or into Sakamoto, at least, a disguise. And he tells Sakamoto, this is where we get revealed that there's a 1 billion yen bounty on his head, and this kind of like is the kind of like the arc for from now until like volume 3 is of basically every hitman possible wants that bounty and wants to kill Sakamoto. So it's kind of just them defeating different hitmen and trying to later trying to figure out who made the bounty and try to get it lifted. And then it's really funny because at the very end of this volume, Sakamoto's daughter really wants to go to Sugar Park, which is just an amusement park. And
definitely a Disneyland ripoff.
Yeah, the mascot is a bunny called Sugar. And yeah, and so it's really funny because it's like a whole family outing with Shin and Lu. Shin and Lu are part of the family, by the way. Should mention that. They go there and they're like, ah, fuck, like this is the worst possible place to try to protect Sakamoto. But Sakamoto is like, we have to go. We just have to go.
He's the definition of that Simpsons meme where it's do it for her, and he's got pictures of his wife and his daughter everywhere.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. So that's pretty much it. And then yeah. So and then kind of like hinting at like, okay, we're gonna get some mostly assassin. Most of the volume 2 takes place in this park, but yeah. Overall, this first volume, like this is like 7 chapters. Each chapter is it's called a day, so like days like days 7 or days 1. This first volume, well, there's a lot of good bits like this. Like we've previously stated, the action is pretty easy to follow too.
There is some like weird. The thing is, like, they're not a bad artist at all. Like, I actually think they're a great artist. There's some weird inconsistencies where people just look super fucked up in like action scenes or just randomly.
Yeah, like I will say, like, very inconsistent because there's sometimes the the characters will be drawn a little more loosely, but then other times the characters will be drawn pretty solid, and like the head shapes and kind of the I don't want to say the expressions, but yeah, kind of the expressions in the faces. Like it's just very, I don't know. It's very inconsistent, very weird, especially like bodily proportions and like the and how their limbs like or how their movements or whatever. It's kind of, I will say, awkward. It kind of reminds me of the same kind of awkwardness in like in like JJK kind of. But it's not I don't think it's as bad. I think it's more readable and far more fluid.
It's more
Yeah.
noticeable on the guy at the final chapter of the first volume. He's got gray hair. He's a poison guy. At least for me, I know he's got the most fucked up faces that I remember.
The poison guy?
Yeah.
I thought the poison guy looked pretty cool, actually. I mean, oh gosh. I mean, I can give another gander.
He doesn't look bad. It's just that the consistency on his style is funny. It reminds me of an old manga from the 90s with his hairstyle as well.
Yeah. I will say though, this is a good kind of a good chapter to point this out though, is so this is what I'm talking about, like kind of in terms of like how their bodies work, whatever. So like at the very end of this is chapter 7 is, so there's 2 panels and it shows the poison guy and then it shows Shin. And Shin, his body is like, his neck is craning really hard. And I'm like, that looks so like, I'm so sorry. It looks so weird.
He looks like a bunny rabbit.
It kind of hurts. It kind of hurts me. And that's what I'm talking about. Is like the characters like kind of will have that where they're like their necks are like really craning out, or they have like really awkward kind of like their arms aren't just like lining up with their like their biceps aren't lining up with their forearms or whatever. Like specifically when sometimes when Sakamoto is like, we get like a full arm shot, it just looks kind of weird. But yeah, so the art isn't like necessarily bad. It's just at times very inconsistent. But for the most part, like we were saying, is like I was telling Colt this, that I kind of had trouble reading this because I had read the first 2 volumes this past week as we were recording this, and then the day of when we were supposed to record this, I was like pushing myself. I was like, you have to read these next 10 chapters. You have to read them, because if you don't, like, we have a podcast recording, like, you have to read them. And I'm just like, fuck, because like I said, at times it's comical, you know, it's very wholesome with this found family thing that's going on. Like I said, the action's solid, but for the most part, it's just kind of like, it's very run of the mill. You can kind of predict of like what's going to happen. You know, it's just like, it's so wholesome. It's not so wholesome. It's so kind of like just predictable. And that's what's really, really tough. And I see this too. It's so weird because if you go on like Goodreads, the ratings for like the first 3 volumes are like 4 point, like anywhere from 4.2 to 4.6. They're very high.
That's
and then
strange.
It's very strange. Like I don't get it.
I will say, after the second volume, I was feeling the fatigue as well. I was like, fuck, I really want to play Call of Duty right now. But I do have to read this 3rd volume for the podcast. And I'm glad I did, because I feel like the 3rd volume actually picked up a lot better than the first 2. I was more interested in the story, especially with the assassins at the table, and I'm a really big fan. He's probably my favorite character, and it's the dude with the bird that's a really good sniper.
Dude, I was literally going to say, I was thinking that beforehand. I was like, the sniper guy is probably my favorite fucking character.
Because he's just a dumbass, clueless fuck that's really good at sniping, and he's super nice too, and I love that.
And he's super nice. Okay, I'm going through. I'm going through on another I'm going through some of these reviews to see like people who are like giving it like 4 stars or 5 stars. And I say this too because for the most part some of the top reviews are just 3 stars, or people will give it 3.5. Sadly, you can't do those half reviews on Goodreads. But like some of the top reviews are like 3 stars, 4 stars, and there's a few that are 5 stars, but it's like people are saying the same thing. It's straight to the point, and it's like cut and dry, which is why people love about it. I'm like, okay, but like I don't know. Like that's it. It's so simple, but it's not simple enough to really be like, oh, this is like one of the best things ever. Like I mean, I'm sorry. This first volume, like, don't get like it's just, I don't know.
Like it falls into the trap of like what One Punch Man likes to mock with like the super powerful OP character, and that he basically never loses. But the thing is, this fails where One Punch Man succeeds in that One Punch Man is fucking hilarious, and it's actually got some very fucking consistent art. Yusuke Murata is a demon with a pen, and plus he draws women. Good lord, I'd probably kiss his hands if he told me to.
I will say there's a bunch of like pull like of things to hook you with One Punch Man. With Sakamoto Days, I mean, like you said, the Sakamoto is OP. He kind of never loses. He might have like a tough time for a little bit, but for the most part, he just kind of it's just he doesn't really ever lose a fight. Like there might be a brief.
It just if he's losing, just wait till I get skinny.
Yeah, like that's literally what happens in the second volume. Is like he gets his ass beat, and then he's like, "Okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna start fighting you for real now." And it's just like, it's like, okay, let's. All right,
I did like the hard boiled guy. I thought he was fun.
He was very fun. Okay, so sorry. So to move on, I will say if I'm gonna give her a rating for volume 1. If I were to give it a out of 10, I would give it probably like anywhere from a 6.5 to a 7, maybe. Maybe just a 6.5. On Goodreads, I gave it a 3 out of 5. Yeah, it's just
I'd give it a 7. Like I said, it's perfectly serviceable. I'm hoping it gets even better because I do want to keep up with it because it's a fun story. It's not bad.
Like I will say, like reading volume 3, like you said before, it's like that's when it kind of picked up for me. I was like, oh shit, okay, all right. So volume 2 is, like I said, most of this takes place at the sugar park. So chapters 8 through 12, it's just that we get the fight between so 8 through 12 is mostly them fighting Mr. Boiled and Miss Ubigoro. Mr. Boiled is a guy from Sakamoto's days at the Assassin's Academy. And it was actually very funny when finding out about that.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say before I forget, they're just a parody of Leon the Professional, right? With Natalie Portman and that one dude.
I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen Leon the Professional.
I haven't either. I just think they look like him.
Now that you say that, yeah. Yeah, actually, probably. But that is not to say that this is like a man and child. These are like two grown-ass adults.
Yeah.
I should say too, this isn't like shonen. This is like seinen. Is that what this is?
No, it's not seinen because of the content. It's just shonen following adults. If it was seinen, it would be much more serious.
Okay,
with murder and gore a little bit. It's different.
Well, the thing is though, I should say Sakamoto definitely tries not to kill people, because that's part of their family rules. They have a set of rules. It's very funny. Because of his wife, they don't want them to kill. And Shin and Liu have to follow this rule as well. But there are kills in this too, and they're pretty brutal when they do happen. Okay, sorry. But anyway, yeah. So So for that, it's there's this really funny bit too where Boiled is talking about Sakamoto, about how they became fast friends and that they did a lot of stuff together. But then towards the end of this flashback, Sakamoto, when they're teenagers, is like, I don't know who this guy is. So it's like this really weird misunderstanding of them hanging out, but Sakamoto has no idea who he is or what's going on. So Boiled is kind of mad about that, and yeah. So
Another fun thing is, like Wenzel said, they are adults, but they're only like 28. And the thing is, Sakamoto does not like 28 because he also has like white hair.
yeah, he has naturally white hair. I would assume that from the so like from all the I didn't think about it. Actually, that's very weird because not the age, but when I think, because Sakamoto, when you look at the covers, I always assume Sakamoto just from the covers when it talks about him being a hitman. I always thought it was like a old guy, but you
He looks
find
like
out
a 58-year-old.
and he has a mustache. I didn't think about it until now, but a lot of the panels when he gets skinny, he loses his mustache. I didn't think about that. I didn't even notice too. And then I think in the panels where it shows him at the beginning when he is skinny, he has a mustache then. So I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, so there's a fight between Boiled and Sakamoto, which is pretty cool. Boiled uses a rocket fist and little small bombs that he has created himself, and he really puts Sakamoto to the edge. Like we said, he basically is like gets blown up a lot, and he says, "All right, I'll start fighting you seriously," and just kind of beats the shit out of him. There is a really cool scene too where they fight and they bust through the building while they're at this park, and they land on a Ferris wheel, and in the damaged pod, Boiled is like bloodied and beaten, and Sakamoto looks fine, and they're just sitting there. That's a really cool panel, I'll say that. And then Obigoro is fighting Lou because Obigoro has Shin tied up, and also too, Lou. So they're in a haunted house ride, and Lou is taking quote anxiety medicine, but then Shin later finds out, he's like, that's not anxiety medicine, that's just alcohol, you're just drinking. So that was pretty funny. And then Lou starts fighting Ubiguro with like drunken master kind of style fighting, and because it's a game where every 10 seconds, Lou has to try to land a hit on Ubiguro, and if she doesn't touch Ubiguro in these 10 seconds, then they're gonna cut Shin. And it's really funny too, because at some point Lou just kind of is like, I can't do it, Shin, I'm so sorry. It's just like everybody's just like, what the fuck? This girl. But they're able to defeat Ubiguro, and they let them go. Yeah, and basically Ubiguro and Boiled become kind of friends with them. They leave him alone, but then it's revealed to Sakamoto's wife that there's a bounty on him, and it's really funny. There's a really funny panel where Shin, Sakamoto, and Boiled are sitting at a table, and she's like, why? You know this is a family rule, no secrets and no lies. But Boiled is thinking in his head, why am I here? It's very fun. Boyle is a lot of fun. I'll say that. I do enjoy him.
I don't know how you read it, but in the chapter where Boiled and Sakamoto are fighting, and he's describing how he makes his bombs in the volume 1, or the volume that you read, it at the end of that chapter it says, "This is random elements. Do not try to make any bombs with this, because I am not liable."
Oh, I didn't see that. I read this on the app. That wasn't on there.
But it's a clearly a joke one, but still, that's a good way to cover your ass because you don't want people making bombs.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not. Yeah, wow. But yeah, so they're able to defeat them. They leave them alone, but there is still the problem of the bounty. So I thought this was actually really cool. They go to Shinjuku because they go to this video store, and turns out this video store is an information bank. And if you're looking for info, you literally just get to rent a video. They have a theater that you can watch it in, that where they have made actual movies on different things, just anything.
Not cheap either.
Not cheap. So they get the information about the company that hired everybody and put this bounty up on Sakamoto. It was really funny too, because they were actually dissecting it like film critics, and Sakamoto pays like 700,000 yen, which is that's a lot of money. That's
I think it's like 7,000.
Yeah, that's
roughly
7,000. Yeah, 7,000. Pretty crazy. And then there's kind of this foreboding thing where the clerk says some old colleagues might show up, and they ask him about it. He says that we don't have a tape for that yet. And so they do. They basically break into the group's compound, and when they finally get to the room where the boss is supposed to be at, Nagumo is there, and that's where we get revealed that Nagumo has been sent there because they're doing an investigation. So Nagumo belongs to a group called the Order. Sakamoto was used to be part of that order, or this group called the Order. And it's been hinted at throughout the story a little bit now, but the Order is basically a special assassin squad. The strongest, most unique assassins are part of the squad that kind of help to investigate and deal with any threats or conflicts that are happening within the assassins organizations and stuff. And yeah, so Nagumo went ahead and went to this place, killed everybody, including the boss, because there is something that's happening within the assassin world where a quarter of the assassins in Japan were killed, and there's some kind of assassin serial killer going around doing this. And at the crime scenes of his killings, he leaves a big X. And Nagumo tells Sakamoto that the same day that these killings happened, the bounty on Sakamoto was put up. So there might be a connection there. We don't know. And then we kind of get a little bit of a we see the back of the guy who puts the X's up at the killings, and that's really all we get of that.
I really enjoyed the bit with Nagumo being like, "Yeah, I did this. I killed them all," and then he immediately like charges at Shin and stabs him in the throat with one of those push knives that the blade goes into the handle when you stab. Thought that was fun.
I thought that was so funny because but also too legit. When that happened, I was like, "Oh my fucking god." They did not just stab Shin, because the next panel it shows Shin grabbing his throat, and then it shows nothing, and it's just like Nagumo was pushing on the knife. See, this is pretty cool, huh? And he's like, I'm just doing a bit. He just loves to do bits and lie and stuff. I'm like, damn, that's kind of me.
And another fun thing about that bit is at the end of this chapter, there is a tiny sketch on the last page where it shows him in a toy aisle buying the knife. He's like, this looks fun.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. That is something I would do, actually. Oh yeah, and then we also get revealed some of the other members of the Order. We don't really, it's not the full roster. We get shown Nagumo, these three other dudes. One of them is a woman who wears like an all black like dress and veil kind of. There's a dude with like a scar on his chin, and then another dude with a bunch of metal on his body.
And then there's an old man that we haven't seen, but I have seen him because I've seen some future panels that convinced me to collect the manga physically in English. I do have all of them. And this old man, I'm excited to reach this old man.
I will say you are same thing, man. So I say popular, and I questioned myself previously. I don't know why, because I have seen so many fucking panels from Sakamoto Days this old man that I believe is the old man they're referencing that I've seen panels of, I'm like, holy shit. Because there's like 4 other members that they don't show us. So there's 8 total members of the order. This old man's a part of that. I'm very curious. I'm very curious about this. I like even with like this kind of bland stuff, people say it picks up. That's the thing I've seen consistently, is that besides the people saying like, oh, it's insane, it's crazy, people say it picks up. So I'm willing to do the work.
Yeah, just I'm glad it wasn't axed, because it did have like up to like chapter 12. That's usually when the shonen's like, all right guys, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to end it soon. But I'm glad they didn't end it, because it's apparently really fucking good now.
Yeah, that's
and at the end of this chapter where they're introducing people, I enjoyed the training arc where Sakamoto is just like riding a bike, driving his daughter to school, which is really fun. Shin is listening to people's minds and like getting their shopping lists for them before they can even walk in the building. And then Lou is just drinking.
She's just drinking. Because Shin said she was really good when she was drunk, and he made like an offhand comment where he's like, maybe you should just drink all the time. And so she just starts drinking more at the store, and she breaks a bottle on one of the customers' heads.
And the funny thing is, the customer's like, 1 pork bun, please. And she smashes it over his head, saying it's coming right up. And there's a speech bubble or a thought bubble coming from him that says, how did they know? So that guy was an assassin there to try to get Sakamoto.
Yeah, no, and you could tell he was an assassin too. He was bald and he had a scar, and I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like the bit where assassins keep coming to the store, they keep beating him up, they keep having to buy first aid and bandages, so they're still making their money back from all this stuff happening, because they also keep breaking in the store, but it's really funny. And then the final chapter of this volume, which
my favorite chapter that
I really enjoyed. I loved it. It's called Department Store War. And so Sakamoto and Shin go on a special fucking mission where they have to go to the department store because Sakamoto's daughter wants a special sugar backpack. And so they go, and it's revealed that this sugar backpack, there's only 20 available at this store, and it's a madhouse right now. People are fighting for this shit. And so Sakamoto and Shin are like, I guess we're at the fucking fight for this. So they go in, and hold on. I'm going to go through the chapter right now. Because Shin immediately tries to get some, and there's this really good panel where he gets fucking elbowed so hard by an old lady. He gets beaten up. It's so funny because it's drawn so well. It looks so serious. It's really good. And so then Sakamoto has to try instead to get in, and he gets the shit beaten out of him. And he actually,
one of the grandmas puts him in a fucking chokehold.
Like what? Yeah. So one of the grandmas is the one that elbowed Shin in the fucking face. And as he's like, they're pulling on his fat and trying to rip him apart and stuff. And he thinks back to his days at the academy when he was in a pool full of sharks. So that's what that reminds him of. And then one of the women actually hits him in the head with a fucking chair.
It's pretty sick. It's pretty accurate for some past Black Friday experiences that are long gone.
It's so good too, and then it's so funny because the next panel it shows Shin holding Sakamoto. It's Sakamoto's dying, and he's like, "Please give this to my daughter." And so they go to check out, but the woman sees Sakamoto because he's bleeding, and so she accidentally throws the backpack. So they're having to race across the store to get it, and eventually, during all this, Shin is questioning like, why are they going through this much trouble? You know, Sakamoto, you're getting hurt, but then Sakamoto thinks about his daughter when she was first born, and Shin's like, all right, like it's like, okay, I get it. You know, you love your daughter, so let's get this fucking thing. And Sakamoto ends up jumping from what looks to be 3 stories to grab this fucking backpack, and
it was what was it movie? Police Story. It was a Police Story moment when he's in the mall.
Yeah, he's grabbing this fucking banner and he falls and crashes, and And then he says, my daughter wants it, nothing matters more than that. And so it was very cute. And because also their daughter is going to grade school, so she needs a backpack, and that's what she really wanted. It shows them escorting her. Sakamoto is wrapped up in bandages. This little boy gives her a flower, and then Sakamoto is back at the store, and they're talking about it. It shows Sakamoto getting out his pistol because he's going to kill this little boy.
There is a funny panel in where he's thinking about his daughter when she was first born, and she looks like a potato, but he looks down at her, and the face he has in that panel is so fucking funny.
Yeah,
it's not meant to be funny, I don't think, but it just looks so off, which makes it funny.
And then there was these group of panels at the beginning where Shin is talking about like, oh, she's gonna grow up, time flies, she's gonna be in junior high, and then boys are probably gonna want to gonna hit on her. And then it shows another panel where it shows Sakamoto coming up to this imaginary boy, coming up to his daughter, shooting him in the head.
No killing.
And Shin's like, whoa, can't do that. It's very funny, and it's just so funny too because it's like this little boy gives her a flower, and he's like, "You want to be my girlfriend?" And immediately Sakamoto is like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill this kid."
Jesus Christ!
So it's really good. No, for the most part, this manga or this volume was definitely a step up from the first one. It's definitely more funny. Has a lot of good action in it too. Like I still give it about the same rating, if like 3 out of 5, but I would probably bump it up to an actual 7 out of 10 for this as well. It was a fun time.
I would give it a 7.5 or a 3.75. I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a good time. It's a good time. I agree. And then the next volume is where like we said, shit really picks up. The first chapter is chapter 17. It's Haisuke Mashimo. That is the name of the sniper guy we are talking about. He has a pet parrot. He's poor, and it's really funny because he seems really cool. He has this very unique style. He goes to the Sakamoto store, and he's like, "Hey, I'm here to get Taro Sakamoto. Do you know where I can find him?" And it's so funny because he's talking to Sakamoto himself, and it didn't clue me in until reading it, when he's like, Sakamoto says, "Oh, that guy doesn't work here. We're part of a chain store." And the guy's like, "Ah, shit, man, really?" like does not know that he is talking to Taro himself. And it's so funny. And then he's like, wait a minute. No, the woman outside said that Taro Sakamoto is here. And then they're like, do you know how many Taro Sakamotos are in Japan alone? That's a common name. And he's like, ah, shit, I can't search all of Japan.
And he promised his bird, like, after we get this bounty, we can get us some sushi. And there's a panel of him, like, thinking of all the locations, which means no sushi, and it's a picture that's poorly drawn. I'm imagining it's his drawing, but it's of him and his bird crying.
And Shin is like, he's like, there's no point in reading these guys' thoughts because they're so fucking stupid. He's like, this guy is so dumb. And it's so funny. Immediately when that happens, I'm like, you know what? This guy's probably going to be fun. He's going to be a fun guy. But then kind of like to change his luck, he's like, man, I don't know what we're going to do now. He gets a flyer for an airsoft tournament where if you win it, you get 1,000,000 yen. And he goes to join it, but he doesn't realize too that Sakamoto and Shin are joining this airsoft tournament too because they need the money for the repairs of their store. And it's and the faces that he draws for Mashima was really funny because he looks so sad. So he goes to join, but he can't join because it's just by himself. They tell him you have to join in teams of 2 to 5, and then he sees Sakamoto and Shin, and he's like, "Oh, thank you guys for joining. Like, let me join with you." So, and so yeah, so they're gonna have this. It's basically like they take this mall, and they have this airsoft tournament where the airsoft BBs, when you shoot somebody, they have like blue like dye in them.
It's basically paintball.
It's basically paintball, but like they're, I don't know. It's I don't know what kind of airsoft this is, but whatever, it doesn't matter. And it's so funny too because what they do for this mall or whatever is that not only is it a tournament, but so whoever wins gets some money, but not only that, everybody has to help clean up the mall afterwards because it's also like basically their way of having annual spring cleaning to help with cleaning the mall. So they basically just have a bunch of people join so that they can have not really have to hire anybody to help clean it.
I think that's a great idea. I feel like
it's actually a cool
should
idea.
Do that.
Right? I was like, this is actually a really fun idea. And this is where, like I said, this manga, like at this point, like really starts to pick up for me. Because as soon as I say go, you know, it's so funny because Mashimo has an airsoft rifle and literally there's like a team ahead of them, and they're like, all right, we're gonna get these guys. As soon as they yell go, each guy immediately, it's a really good panel. It shows the BBs all hitting their fucking heads. Immediately, a team is out.
It looks like they got shot in the head, really.
It looks so crazy, and it shows the next panel. It shows between Sakamoto and Shin, the dude has the rifle barrel between them, and immediately just has uncocking it or whatever. It's so cool, and he's like, she said go, right? Like, he is such a good sniper, and that's, oh my god, it's crazy.
Fuck, I'm looking at the chapter, and I went to the next page, and it just shows Sakamoto getting ambushed, and he just shoots him in the jaw. It looks like he just shot his jaw off.
It looks like he shot his jaw off. I do love how Suzuki plays around with the fact that, like, they have these BBs, they're basically like paintballs, but to make it look like these guys are actually getting shot, you know, it looks so crazy. And then as they're going through this, they're taking people out. And then Lou, sadly, because she is drinking and she's their cheerleader, starts talking about Sakamoto, and Mashimo is like, what? Sakamoto? And then she's like, yeah, you just have a picture of when he was skinnier, you know, but it's the same glasses, same hair, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, there's no way that can be him. And there's this nice panel where they're like, yeah, you're right. But then immediately there's a 2-panel spread where they're all pulling a gun out on each other. It's so sick. And it ends with Mashimo saying, I hate liars. It's so good. And then chapter 18 is literally Mashimo is able to quickly get some ground on them. He immediately goes to a building, builds his rifle, and just starts shooting at them. And he's from what we can tell, he's probably one of the best snipers out there. I mean, he even says that, like, we kind of get his backstory. Oh my god, there's a really good panel where he's talking to his while he's sniping, he's talking to his bird, and then it shows crying me. No way, I'm not sad at all. Me and those guys are enemies, but it's
because in the last chapter he's like, they're my war buddies. That's so great to have friends.
Yeah, he's like, see, like, this is what it feels like to have war buddies. It's just, oh my god. And yeah, no, it's pretty sick too. Like, the dude is quick. Like besides him being really stupid, the sniper stuff is really, really good. Like, he's insane.
He uses the pet bird as reconnaissance, and he can speak to the bird, and he uses its directions to ricochet bullets off the environment to kill people, because he uses a special round that is meant for his type of shooting.
Yeah, it's a triple rebound bullets that ricochet on purpose. It's
I don't think it's real, but it's cool.
it's real. I mean, yeah, no, it's really cool. And like, and he says too, when I look through the scope of my rifle, all I see is a target. And and yeah, and like it shows like him at school. It says like all he knows how to do is to snipe. That's all he did. That's all he learned, and he became the best at it. But then that's also too why he had trouble finding jobs, is because they're like, what assassin just knows how to snipe? Like, you don't know how to do anything else. And I think this is a play on something that we've kind of seen in like movies or in video games, where you have snipers who are really, really good snipers, but then as soon as you get into close quarters with them or you get the jump on them, they can't do anything else, and they're just dead or kicked out or whatever. I think it's a really fun play on that with this character. I mean, and of course, they don't kill him. They're able to take him out. Sakamoto uses a rock, and they're able to figure out his location. So he throws a rock really, really hard and breaks
far
and breaks his rifle. And yeah, and they do
it's
end
a
up
really
winning.
cool panel too, because the bullet passes right down the barrel and back through the fucking bolt, destroying it completely.
Yeah, destroying it completely. Which is also kind of where, again, does Sakamoto have powers? More than likely. Dude's insanely strong. But yeah, they are able to win the airsoft tournament because they took everybody out. But it's so funny because they have Mishimo there, and he's all beaten up and crying and stuff, and they're like, Sakamoto acknowledges him, saying like, it's like, don't think of yourself as weak. That was he's never gone up such an incredible sniper ever in his life, and so he really appreciates that. But then they wanted to give him his share of the money, which is only 50 yen, because he wrecked a lot of the town with his sniping.
It's just a good bit.
It's a very good bit. And then from then on, he's kind of reoccurring. I assume he's going to be more reoccurring because he comes to the store because he wants the pork buns, and yeah.
I hope he's more reoccurring because he's my favorite character. I love his bits.
Definitely too, with how the volume ends. He sends his bird on Pisuke. I think that's how you say their name. He sends the bird out on reconnaissance to go look for Shin and Sakamoto, because from chapter 19 to chapter 25, Lou gets kidnapped by an organization called the Lab. The Lab are the people who made Shin into a clairvoyant. And they mistake Lou for Shin because Lou is wearing Shin's apron that has his name tag. And Shin walks out of the store because he's angry because Lou says some stuff about his clairvoyance, saying like, it's creepy, I can't be safe around you. And it kind of brings back memories of Shin and how he was treated by the scientist when he got his clairvoyance. And so he left the store. Sakamoto and his wife aren't there because they're at a school thing with their daughter. And so Lou ends up getting kidnapped. And so Shin comes back, and when they find this out, they go to track her because Sakamoto puts GPS trackers in their name tags. So they go to track her down. They get on a highway, and they have a highway fight.
Handsome motherfucker you'll ever see. Like, he looks like his name would be Inigo Montoya or something. He just got these. He's got 2 beauty marks. He's got the curly hair. And his power is invisibility.
Yep.
I don't know his name, but he's the most handsome fucker you'll ever see.
Yeah, so we're getting this whole thing where they're talking in their van. The guy who kidnapped Lou, Tanaka, is talking to this guy who's really funny because I think his name. Hold on, let me find it. Seba. His name is Seba.
Yeah.
And he's talking, and he's very chill, but also telling the boss guy, he's like, are you sure this is gonna work? I think they're gonna be able to tell that this is not Shin or whatever. And it's just kind of playing off. And finally they say like, Saba, you need to do your thing. You need to help us or whatever. It's like, shit. So Saba's probably an important character. And like Colt said, dude is very handsome underneath that. And so he turns invisible and he's able to beat up Sakamoto and Shin, and he's able to get them off their trail. So they're able to get away. But they are able to track him down to the Ukutabi Science Museum. That's where the lab is in the basement, and that's where Shin was basically gained his powers. But yeah.
And the fact that Heisuke is like with the daughter, and he's like, "Fuck it, use my bird, so we'll go find him." That has me a little worried, because that means I think the little girl is going to pop up at this base while they're raiding it, or not the base, the science lab.
Yeah, I don't know. It has me worried too. I hope nothing happens to that bird. I don't care about the daughter.
Oh damn!
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That's fucked up.
But no, we get this really cool in chapter 21. They're in the museum now. They're trying to break in, and okay, I know I just read this, but it's so funny reading it again, because they get in, and these people, because the museum for the most part is normal. And this woman is like, "Hey, you want to take some pictures? Souvenir pictures, whatever." And Shin's like, "We're not interested. We're not going to do it. Now get over our faces." And then the next panel, it shows Shin and Sakamoto in dinosaur costumes posing. And he's like, "Actually, can we have one of the pictures?" And they get to keep the dinosaur heads too. They use those as their disguises. It's very funny. And so they go to the elevator portion that will take them down there. But one of the bear like taxidermies is like their part of their security system. It has a gun in it. So Sakamoto is like fighting this bear along with Shin, and it's like a machine robot kind of thing going on. So they're having to fight it and take it out. But then we cut to the basement where we get introduced to this new character, and we get this panel that's really cool because I've seen it everywhere, and I didn't realize it was from Sakamoto Days. If you lie to Mr. Reindeer, you die,
Yeah, as soon as I saw this guy, I thought, yeah, Wenzel's gonna like this dude. Great design.
Yeah. This dude wearing like a normal suit, he has a reindeer head, and he lifts it up to show his face a little bit. He has stitches on his like around his face, but then he has an X over his mouth, and then he has stitches on his fingers. And what's interesting is I didn't even think about it, but Lou, the character, points out that the X is similar to the painted X for the assassin killings. So this definitely makes it a lot bigger with this group now. And yeah, and then Seba being kind of in with this Mr. Reindeer guy too. So yeah, we get that. But then also too, while that's happening, freaking two of the people from the Order show up as well, because one of their leads led them to the lab. It's the woman and the guy with the scar on his chin. So things are about to get fucking interesting.
Is Sakamoto gonna team up with the two other assassins to defeat this fucker? I don't know.
But then we get a cool fight where they have to fucking fight a mechanical skeleton of a T-Rex. And it was really funny because Sakamoto beforehand, Shin was like, "Do you know how to fight animals?" And Sakamoto was like, "Yeah, we took animal fighting at the assassin school." But then when the T-Rex activates, Sakamoto's like, "Well, I've never fought a dinosaur." And so then the next chapter 22, is them fighting this T-Rex. But then Shin plants this idea in Sakamoto. He was like, "Man, dude, if your daughter was here, she would love this shit." And then Sakamoto's like, "We need to take this back, so let's not damage it." So they're fighting this thing, and they're like, "Ah, man, how are we gonna?" He's like, "We got to take it back alive. How are we gonna do this?" And they're kind of having trouble because this thing is like pretty destructive, and it destroys their taser gun because they try to reset its systems with it, but because it's highly advanced, it's able to reset its own systems. So Sakamoto is like pretty bummed out. He's like, fuck this. And then he just annihilates this thing with a fucking punch. It's pretty crazy. So they're able to beat it. They get onto the elevator, and as we're going through this, we see where Shin and Sakamoto meet up with the scientists there. Shin knows the scientists. The scientists are being held captive by these assassins because the assassins came in and took the lab and the scientists not hostage, but it's basically taken over and forcing them to work and do stuff. And part of this is they want to get Shin because they're wanting to bring him back so they can study him because they're wanting to kind of like get like tech and science to help these assassins be more powerful and stuff. So that's why they're kind of doing all this. It's also revealed that the head of the lab they actually put down into the prison where Lou is being kept too because the head of the lab oppose these assassins, so that's where they're keeping them. And then in chapter 23, we get the backstory of the boss of the lab, talking about his relationship with Shin. He basically raised him. He was like kind of his father in a way, and like how he got his powers and stuff. And he kind of wants to apologize to Shin for everything that happened. And yeah, it's a nice little chapter showing kind of everything. Because Shin
I thought Shin would have been like a purposeful victim of experiments, but this chapter showed that it was actually an accident. It didn't mean to happen like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we'll find out some more, but basically, like, this lab was doing research. The head of the lab took Shin in, and he was kind of raising him here. And then accidentally, Shin drank this this liquid that gave him his clairvoyant powers. And then it's like, oh well, shit. So yeah, he was like, well, I mean, it worked. So you have clairvoyance. So, but then because of his clairvoyance, he was kind of ostracized by the scientists there because he would he's a kid, so he would just say shit sometimes, and he'd read. He can't help it. He'd read these scientists' minds and say like, "Oh, this scientist kind of likes this other female scientist. He's kind of a pervert." And then like he would like think ahead of people. He would reveal kind of people's secrets. Like one of the scientists, he wears a wig, which I thought was really funny. And so he was kind of, yeah, everybody kind of, and because he can read their thoughts, they talk about how creepy he is, how he's a weird kid or whatever. And the boss, or the head scientist, he felt really bad about this, and he was like, I want to try to reverse this. I'm so sorry. But Shin is like, no, it's like, this is something you've been aiming for, your research, you should be happy, you should be celebrating. So Shin runs away, but Shin becomes a hitman, but then eventually he meets he meets Sakamoto, and then he meets Sakamoto again, and then he's not a hitman anymore. So they tell him like he's had a pretty successful and loving life, and so the guy wants to apologize to Shin, and Lou's gonna help break them out. And then we actually get this interesting fight for chapter 24 and 25, where they fight one of the every floor of this basement has basically like a leader of that floor that's an assassin. So there's like there's floor 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So currently right now, Sakamoto and Shin are on floor 1. Lou and the head scientist guy are on floor 4. So yeah, so there's a guy for each there's a boss for each floor. And so the boss that they fight for floor 1 is a scientist guy who injects Shin and Sakamoto with these kind of different like not, I don't want to say drugs, but these things that like mess with their brains. So it's crazy because Shin gets this one where everything he says is backwards. And then Sakamoto gets one where every time he tries to punch the boss of this floor, he ends up hitting Shin instead. It's pretty funny. Because at the very end of the chapter, instead of hitting the boss, he goes for Shin, and so it's like it does the reverse, where since he's going to hit Shin, he ends up hitting the enemy instead. And so because he thought about hitting Shin really fucking hard for all the times he makes him mad, he ends up hitting the scientist guy really fucking hard. It's really funny. I think this fight that Suzuki has made for this is actually pretty. I thought it was pretty unique. Because
it reminded me of some old manga. I'm blanking. It reminds me of the fucking buff dude from Yu Yu Hakusho, where he amps up. It's not the same mechanically, but it's just like he gets buff for the his second phase of the fight.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then but then too, you do have the like thing of like, oh well, you know, Sakamoto is so strong and they're so fast, so obviously of course he can't possibly be beat. So the fight does only really last for 2 chapters, but I still thought it was pretty unique. What ends up happening is they kind of Sakamoto basically has this idea where he's going to try to punch Shin, but instead he's like punching him so fast that it ends up hitting the dude, because there's this whole thing where he can also still kind of switch off their what he's injected into them. It's like electrodes that he injects into them, and he has a device on his forearm, on his wrist, that he like can flick stuff off. So if he's really fast, or if he's faster than them, which he is, or which he shows, is that he can switch stuff off. So whenever he tries to hit Shin, think it'll hit the guy, he ends up hitting Shin just directly. So so basically Sakamoto just has to be faster than him and just beat the shit out of him. And yeah, and so they're able to beat the guy, and the scientists there tell him like, you know, we're really sorry. They remove the electrodes, or they tell sorry to Shin, and Shin's like, it's okay, you know, I like my abilities and where I am now, kind of dealing with that. And then there's also a really funny a panel at the end where Shin talks about Sakamoto being fat, and then Sakamoto thinks about stabbing Shin in the throat, and Shin's like, "Why'd you think about killing me?" And of course, Sakamoto's like, "Don't talk about my weight." Yeah, and that's really it for the three volumes.
Yeah, that's the end of the 3rd volume, and it's the best volume. Has the best cover art. I will say the cover art for every single volume of Sakamoto Days is really fucking good. This one has Heisuke on it, and it looks really sick.
Yeah, no, it looks really cool. I love the colors and like how he's his pose with the sniper rifle, really sick. The covers look really good. Yeah, no, so this like we said, this is my favorite because things start picking up. We get introduced to Heisuke Mishimo, we get this introduction of the lab, we get kind of some more involvement with this arc of like who put the bounty on Sakamoto, who is doing the killings. Oh, the killings, by the way, they have nicknamed the person who's doing the killings as X, because they put the X at all the crime scenes or whatever. So we're kind of getting that. Like, I mean, things are starting to heat up. You know, we get this weird group of assassins. We don't know who they are, but they've taken over the lab. Mr. Reindeer. So yeah, definitely things are starting to pick up. So it's like it's crazy, because getting through that first slog of those first 2 volumes, but like if you can get through that, get to volume 3, I mean, I definitely want to keep up with it now. See what's going on.
I agree. Also, the assassin, they called him Slur.
Slur?
Yeah. That was the nickname they called him, Slur.
Okay.
It's a strange one. I'll say it.
It's very strange. Yeah. Um, yeah, no, again, if I'm giving ratings, I give this volume a 4 out of 5. I'd give it I would give it a 7.5, maybe an 8, maybe out of 10. It's like I said, it's a huge step up, and it has me hooked now. It actually has me hooked. I'm very interested. Yeah.
I agree. I give it an 8 and a 4. So it's good shit now. Push past the little bit at the beginning, and you have something nice here.
Yeah, because for the most part, the kind of the thing with Sakamoto Days is definitely like I feel like vibing, like kind of like, two guys own a guy owns a grocery store. He's a wife guy, he's a family guy. Kind of well, sorry.
It seems today that all you see. You said Family Guy.
I did say Family Guy. You're right.
Yep.
I mean, he kind of, I don't want to say he's a Peter Griffin, but he's kind of, with kind of the shit he does, he's kind of a Peter Griffin, now that I think about it. Insane strength at times, murdering, used to murders. Peter Griffin still murders. Not as, definitely not as evil. But no,
I see what he thinks about Minions. We'll find out. I imagine in a later volume.
If we got a Minions chapter, that'd be really fucking funny.
Sakamoto just loves drawing them fucked for some reason.
Oh, it's because of his daughter. His daughter probably loves Minions. Yeah, no. But what I'm trying to say is like definitely like the days. When I heard Sakamoto Days, I definitely thought of like kind of like summer days, kind of like just vibing, chilling, kind of like, oh, like getting through the daily life, the 9 to 5, getting through a job, but chill or whatever. And for the most part, for some of this, it's kind of like that kind of wholesomeness is there or whatever, but with the or the mundanity.
I don't think that's a word.
It's a word. Hold on. I'm gonna look it up. Yeah, mundanate. Why can I not fucking pronounce this word? What is going on? The mundane life. The mundane. It is a word. But yeah. Just trying to protect that. But I think now that the fact that like with the crazy shit that is going on with the lab and the assassins and stuff, it's really starting to pick up and be like, okay, let's focus on this and because ultimately this is all in the service of Sakamoto needs to, because even once his wife finds out about the bounty, whatever, she says, take care of it. And I think that point, that's where it's like basically the start of like, okay, now it's like we're about to go on a journey basically of like, we have to stop this shit because Sakamoto has to protect what he has. And so and along with Shin and Liu. So yeah. Do you have any final thoughts, Colt?
Look forward to reading more of it. I'm gonna wait for more stuff to come out because that's how I am. But hell yeah, Sakamoto Days. Okay, I see you. I'm curious about the anime because it's going to be animated by the studio that's they've done a lot of decent and like some pretty good work. They're known for the newest Fruit Baskets, a lot of the Conan stuff, some Lupin stuff. They're pretty big, Dr. Stone. So I have some pretty high expectations, I think, for the anime.
I'm very curious. There is a spin-off manga by Tetsu Okawa. He worked on an assistant on the main manga, but this one is titled Sakamoto Holidays, and it started back in July 4th of this past year. So I'm curious about that. There was a novel adaptation with an exclusive story titled Sakamoto Days Kuroshiya no Method. It's Sakamoto Days Killer's Method. Okay, that's interesting. That
Apparently, it says Shin and Nagumo have a fishing duel at the Sakamoto family camp. Oh, that's fun.
was all right.
Someone named Shishiba and Osaragi having a ramen eating trip. Kashima's remote work situation. That sounds like a fun little novel. I don't know these characters because I'm not that far.
Okay. All right, cool. That came out April 4th of last year, 2023. There's a spin-off novel too with exclusive episodes, also written by Rinka Masaki, titled Sakamoto Days Kurashia Blues, which is just Assassin's Blues. That is supposed to come out on December 4th of this year, which would be, what is that? Wednesday. So
Yup.
all right, but yeah, well, that's it. Thank you for listening. Again, definitely check it out. I do give a recommendation for it. If you can get past those first 2 volumes, the 3rd volume, I definitely think it picks up. But thank you for listening. We're the All You Can Hear podcast. Follow us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, and YouTube. Follow us on Bluesky at aychpodcast.bsky.social. At the time of this episode coming out, hopefully we have 90 followers. I don't know. Or I don't know, maybe we have 100. Something, a lot of stuff can happen in within 3 days, 4 days.
We'll have to see.
We'll have to see. But so far though, we do really appreciate all the follows. Tanner's Elden Ring stream is going to be really long, and I think it's going to be really fun. Follow us on TikTok at AYCH Podcast. Follow us on Instagram, AYCH Podcast. Follow us on twitch.tv/AllYouCanHear, where we'll be streaming Elden Ring, and all the VODs from our streams goes up on our YouTube, including the instruction booklets, VODs, All You Can Hear. And lastly, you can follow me, Wenzel, on Bluesky, my art Instagram, and Threads as World of Wenzel. Follow my other account, Wenzel's Essentials. My Linktree has links to everything, including my Goodreads, Letterboxd, and music board.
My name's Colt. Twitter's gone. I've deleted it. Haha, bye-bye. But I'm on Bluesky. Follow me on Bluesky, ColtD99. And, before I go, Dondus, go rip its peckerwood off. Dondus will arrive to your house in 3 to 8 weeks.
Damn. Well, look out for the first console Dondus.
He's a dangerous little creature.